Welcome back. It's kind of a short in between anniversary show, and today, Sunday, June 19th, recorded show. But I think some things happen between now and then. So it's Bags and GP and Nick jfdi here with you. I've got the S&P futures up. Futures are open right now, and I think they were just barely hanging on to some green. Markets closed Monday, but I wanted to really jump into what we were just talking about right before I hit the record button, which was the last time that we were on a Sunday show. Nick told me, go get you some gush. Go get some gush. Let's just see. I'm curious about some gush.
Gush is what you got.
Gush got gollied.
Sure did.
35%. Anyway, Nick, I'm not trying to rub that in your face at
all.
Not at all. But I mean,
what was it about? Anyway, Bags, first of all, happy Father's Day to everyone.
Thank you. Happy Father's Day to you too, Nick.
Everybody.
To all the fathers celebrating,
all the dads,
fathers, sons, everything, everyone, right? It's just family day. And in honor of that, we're going to discuss how the markets are gonna go to zero. So you should hold on to your kids a bit more tighter. And we're just never gonna stop selling.
Yeah, we really aren't. I mean, you know, I really enjoyed having Cookie on with us the other day. I always like Cookie's perspective, and I suspected he was pretty bearish, but he was way more bearish than I thought. And you know, I was looking at charts yesterday, and there goes futures. They just turned red. But I was looking through some charts yesterday on Saturday, and you know, I pulled up this ES chart and I was like, you know, this broke what I thought was going to play out, right? Like this was a chart that we had done some weeks ago, and this did not happen. And at some point, I just got to call in the troops and say things are wrong. And I don't, my thesis isn't playing out at all. We just continue to keep going lower. And I'm not turning into a full blown bear here, but like every chart that I pulled up yesterday was just bear porn, every single one of them.
Yeah, it's easy. All you have to do is buy puts, and then you get smoked on the fact that volatility isn't also rising. So even though you buy your puts, you're getting smoked on those. You're getting smoked on calls. You're getting smoked on all market in all kind of trades, unless you're a zero DTE day trader, right? Playing every swing. But if you're trying to swing some puts, you're not getting the volatility bump, because guess what? We've talked about this a long time. People are already hedged. They've been hedged to the face since like November to January, right? They've been hedging like crazy, and now you're not getting. We momentarily on Thursday finally got some downside volatility potential, and then Friday they negated it all. Yep. Dealers went right back on the side positioning. So like the skew was really starting to turn to the downside, and we're this close to falling off the edge. And then Friday they said, no, I'm just kidding. But let's go back to XLE, right? XLE has been your, and we talked about this. I've talked about this a couple times. People,
XLE and XLV. Healthcare has been a safe place to hide too, but
right.
I look at the Grim Reaper meme, right, of knocking on the door and walking out, and there's blood everywhere, right? And I think I definitely think it's energy and healthcare's time to get the whacking.
Yeah, so like we'll go through that in a second, but this XLE trade we've talked about a bunch of times, and I've talked about being short at key resistance points. And the last time we talked about the key resistance points is if it broke 83 without any resistance, it was most likely going to go back and check that 91, 92 kind of left shoulder from the early 2000s, right? Like create that massive head and shoulders. And that's what we're kind of thinking, expecting, or we were talking about here. And literally they grinded you right to that point, overshot a little bit, and then punched you in the face like Mike Tyson would in 1 week. They literally just, this is what I was wanting. So this is why I kept trying the shorts at resistance, and it finally ended up paying. And I still got out too early, Nick, as I was telling you, that it was an 800% trade, but it could have been a 4,200% trade, right? Like it's this is what I was kind of waiting for, and then I got cute, as we all do, because it's been so strong, right? So on any bounce, you're like, I don't want to be a part of this. It's just going to bounce right back to highs. They've brainwashed you into the way of thinking, and then what does it do? What was it, 20% in a week on an ETF, not a stock, on an ETF? This is a basket of stocks.
Yeah, I think from high to low it was around that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. And so they came after XLE, they came after XLU. Look at XLU, utilities. They got the small cap treatment.
Yeah, well,
it was kind of nuts to watch what they were doing. And then if you're starting to look at the charts of United Healthcare, Humana, the healthcare that you're talking about, bags, these are all, they're doing the inverse the inverse cup and handle breakdowns that all these technology stocks did about 3 or 4 months ago, right? And I think Apple's at that point. And so like you're seeing a lot of kind of bearish patterns that could potentially, that this could get to that 5,000 NASDAQ level pretty, like feels like in a month, the way we're moving these days.
Well, I mean, and Nick, I'm definitely interested in what your thoughts on this. I mean, I think you've, for the past 7 months, I was just telling GP this, we're going on month 8 of this, right? This started the week of Thanksgiving 2021, and we are almost into month 8 of this downtrend across the markets. But anyway, like you were saying, GP, like, you come in and you feel good trying to swing something, and it's taught us that you can't hold those swings long. And then, of course, I mean, you made 800%, but it could have been 4,200%. But at the same time, it could have been 0, right? So I think, in regards to your XLE trade, you just got to take that profit and be happy with it right now. It could have been $4,200, absolutely, but just the way the market has acted and reacted, it's hard to, it's not like we were in late 2020, early 2021, where basically you held something and you basically just had to have calls or puts that were more than a month out and you were fine, right?
And in reality, I was never going to hold till Friday afternoon, because that's not how I trade, right?
Exactly.
Like if I'm in weeklies and I'm up a good amount, they're gone by Wednesday at the latest. I'm not holding till Friday to find out whether it's going to play out. I've done that too many times in my younger years, and I'm not willing to find out. So yeah, if you held, it would have been that awesome trade, but it never would have been in my criteria.
Nick, are you still holding energy names?
no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trail stops hit pretty much on everything.
You might have gotten your 66 on Friday if they let it collapse.
I know, like it was interesting. There was somebody chirping at me on Stock Twits about XOM, and I was like, he was trying to tell me to like zoom in on and do like a 60-minute chart, and I was like, I'm sorry, yeah, like a 60-minute, and I was like, dude, I don't know if I agree with you. I think it's likely to see, it's likely to see its 200-day before it sees all-time highs, kind of in my opinion. But I am kind of curious to see how the XLE kind of plays out from here, just because longer term, I am I still am an energy bull, I think. I want to see, kind of like we've been talking just in general with the, the SPYs, the Qs, and individual equity names. For me to get super bearish on the XLE, like I think that mid 50s range needs to get taken out. That's kind of like the 50% retracement of like this, this huge move up that we've had. I know you're talking about that big head and shoulders, and I see that too. I just I don't know. Something inside of me says that this thing isn't done. I think I think we're definitely getting a puke off the highs here, and it's going to scare a lot of people out.
I think you get a check, Nick. I think you get a mean reversion check because people have been in it for so long that you'll see
for sure.
you'll see a pushback to 86, maybe 90 going back into the end of the month because it is end of quarter flows and stuff like that. But I think the bigger puke is coming starting next quarter, right? Like this to me, and
so typically energy is the last to get kind of whacked in a bearish market. Is that kind of what I've been seeing?
For me, it's always been financials, right? So when to me, like I know we started talking about this in November and December, but the moment Bezos stepped down back in May was like your signal of like the greatest kind of investor. You can say Buffett is a great investor over a longer period of time, but in our generation of investing, you can argue that Bezos is because he grew his wealth from literally nothing to hundreds of billions of dollars, right? Elon's a second close, but he doesn't have the longevity. He's only a couple of years in. Bezos has been doing this for 20 plus years, and this man stepped down at the height of their growth, right? Like, he pretty much said, yeah, I'm good. I'm going to step away now. So he saw what was coming, so to speak, right? Gates did the same thing back in 2000. He stepped down in March 2000, and that was the end of that bull run in the tech space, right? In the bubble crisis. So
was that the same week that Elon sold that, he sold that 10% stake or whatever he did? He took that that Twitter poll.
The tax thing? No, that was September, I think.
Oh, okay.
So no, I don't think it was. I think Bezos was the one who kind of kicked it off, and then you saw the people piling on, right? Like,
absolutely.
Elon started selling, who has said he's never going to sell, started selling his stock. He said he'll be like, if you've been a long time Elon fan or a follower, he has always said he'll be the last person out. Right.
That was early October, or no, sorry, early November, late October.
Yeah.
When Elon posted the poll, November 6th.
So I personally think like
2.5 weeks before the market topped.
The market started to really, the tech started to really diverge on Biden's election, right? Because right around the Biden election is when they started announcing the coronavirus vaccine efficiency. And so all of like the pull forward started to kind of pull out. And you can see that in Zoom, if you're looking back, that day Pfizer announced the COVID vaccine was the last time Zoom has made a higher high, right? Like it's literally the last time. So I think it all started rolling back then. And then you started seeing the SPAC, like what we know about like big moves and bubbles is when you start seeing the turds float to the top, which was the SPACs of that time, it's their last kind of distribution cycle. And along with that, financials are usually the last to break out of consolidation as well. And financials put in a nearly 100% move from October 2020 to like March 2021, right? Like that's huge for financials that hasn't done jack since 2008, right? Like they've been 12-year cycle, and then they had 100% move. So there was a lot of things that were talking about how, and this was before you joined, me and Bags were talking, and what a lot of the market is what I expected to happen, like a lot of stuff getting destroyed. A couple of things that I did not expect to happen is I did not expect it to be the blue chips, right? Like the Amazons and the Netflixes. And like, it's weird that those are the
The
ones that
Microsofts.
but the Microsofts actually held, right, pretty well, and the Apples have held pretty well and done all that. So I expected the other blue chips to kind of stick with that theme, and I wasn't expecting those to come down. And then you have Nikola, right?
I mean, if you go 30% down on Microsoft's, holding, compared to the others or the Netflixes of the world, I'm with you. But Microsoft 30% off, 30% down in 7 months is pretty spectacular form.
Right. Okay, I can't argue that, so I'm not going to. But it's been fairly choppy, right? Like, whereas like Netflix and Amazon have died pretty damn quick deaths.
Yes.
So I think it's been a slow grind down in Microsoft versus the Amazon and Netflix. So that's just all I wasn't expecting.
46%.
And so like and then you have NKLA, Nikola, which somehow still manages to have a $2 billion valuation. And you're like, what? Wait, I thought we were selling everything that was crappy. How does this company that makes a total of $37,000 in 5 years still have a $2.2 billion valuation? I don't understand. So there's still stuff that's broken, but it's fun to see some of this stuff. All right, I'll stop talking.
I'm sad.
No, I enjoy hearing you speak.
So this is what we talked about on the live show, the anniversary show, is like, we're in a pretty kind of tenuous zone in a lot of these. Like, I definitely see SPY, because it does have energy components, start to behave weaker than the tech names.
Yeah, totally.
And if we bottom like we have in other major bottoms, I'm not talking about our corrections, then tech tends to start to rise 3 to 4 months before the SPY does, right? So that's what you got to be kind of paying attention to over the next quarter and a half that's going in here, is like, do we start to see divergences tech because they were the first to lead us down? And now you'll see the Humanas and the United Healthcares and where everyone, the McDonald's, right? I said, no, not Ronald, right? So
I would love to be able to be part of that thesis right now, but I look at semis, right? You guys know I love semis. I've been preaching semis for 2.5 years now, it seems like. And new lows, right? I mean, a lot of that was Intel, which always disappoints. It never fails to not disappoint. Intel's sitting at 36.97 right now. Then you got the main biggest component. It's actually holding up, but remember this pattern, guys. Remember the pattern? This was the PayPal Batman pattern. Remember?
Yep.
And I can't help but just see big old Batman flashing out at me. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm Batman.
Yeah.
Right. I'm giving the wings of air.
So I like looking for bottoms. That's the kind of trader I am. I'm a bit more contrarian when it comes to trading. I'm not the cookie trend trader, so to speak. I have difficulty buying breakouts, and because to me, a lot of times they fail quite often. So it's just the type of trader I am. So if you bring up the Qs bags and pull to the weekly, is what I liked is the big kind of gap down below the recent range, right? The bear flag.
Some volume on that chart too, sir.
If you want to, yeah. It's not as important here for me, but I like on that weekly basis, I really kind of like that abandoned baby kind of throw everything out with the bathwater under the entire range. We saw that at the end of 2020, right? That last kind of, we had that doji, we had that relentless sell the following week, even after the Fed announced that they were going to start QE. I like the
GP,
potential
I
here,
will
but-
fucking tell you right now, if this happens the way it did in March of 2020, I will fucking dress up as your desktop wallpaper.
So like I look for it because I also see the divergences. I'm not saying it's going to, but I like this as a fairly bullish setup going into the next few months, right? Like this could be that, because it was relentless to sell. We, after losing 30-something% of the markets, we had 3 days where the Qs dropped 10.5% without flinching.
Yeah, I remember. I lived that shit.
Yeah. And that was the Qs. Amazon was down 20%. Netflix was down 20. This shit is already down 70%. How can you be down another 20? Right? Like it was. So I like the concept of potentially having that kind of isolated gap down reversal. But we got to see how it opens and how the week closes. And you do have quarter end flows coming in here. So that leaves me a bit more bullish. But you're also seeing divergences on the MACD. You're starting to see my divergences on RSI and quite a few other indicators, which haven't been reliable much this year, but it's something to watch for here, right? Like,
could your wife do a white pasty guy in a bikini as a desktop wallpaper? And I know we're getting way off topic here, but I just popped in my head, like, how am I going to do this? I would love for that to happen, GP. I mean, I think, and I hate to even say a V bottom's possible. Anything's possible, but at the same time, that was just such a rapid drop. And I kind of use it the way cryptocurrencies have rapid drops and then they bounce, right? I don't think we're going to get that here. I mean, we've had relentless selling getting ready to be in our 8th month of relentless selling. It has to stop at some point, but at the same time, like, this isn't, a 5-week thing that just happened, right? Like this is 8 months.
I guess that's my whole point, right? We're already like, everyone's already hedged. We're already, so I'm looking for it. I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Yeah. I know you're not saying it's going to. I'm just saying it's, but the further we get out from, and this is something that we've talked about for months now at this point, the further we get out from, okay, we're going to have this bounce like we did in March, which was nice. We said it then. I mean, we can go back and listen to the pod if we want to. If this bounce fails, we're going lower, right? And we went lower. That happened. Yep. That came to fruition. I just feel like until we get a legit rally, every one of them are just suckers. This was a sucker right here, right? We all got suckered. This was a sucker. We all got suckered. I think this was a sucker.
I think 225, 230 is where we're heading. I think we are going to see a bit of a bounce here, like at least from what I'm looking at. Like the McClellan is the main kind of oversold, overbought indicator that I kind of it's just the tool that I use. And like, we're extremely oversold. So it's, even though last week's bar was like a major confirmation, I mean, it was essentially like a breakdown confirmation. We got a close below the pivot low on accelerating volume. It's tough to really, it was like, I had shorts on last week, mainly day trades, but I wouldn't have been able to hold over the weekend anyway, just going into a long weekend. And considering how oversold they were, I do think we kind of see a little bit of support and a little bit of a bounce here too, in like this 270, 260 area. But ultimately, I think that we're just kind of setting up to roll down to that basically pre-COVID highs is kind of where I think we find a much more sustainable longer term bottom, whether it's the ultimate bottom or not. I think that's where I'm going to be looking to put on actually a lot of longs.
I hear you. I think I think everyone thinks 2000's coming to fruition.
Like a much harder crash than that.
Yeah, so like,
Yeah, I'm not in that camp for sure.
but a lot of people are, right? Like,
Yeah, totally.
I'm not in that camp unless we break this only kind of support area that's remaining here to me. I don't personally think COVID highs or any of that stuff really holds, because there's really no volume there, right? Like,
Right.
we didn't, when we came back to test those highs in April or May or whenever it was of 2020, we didn't consolidate there. We didn't pull down. We didn't form a base, which is what you would have wanted to see. And where you formed the base was up here between the 260 and 270, 260 and 280 level, right?
Yep.
So to me is like, if that base doesn't hold here, then there's a possibility, obviously, if it gets bad, that we get to those, the day they announced the COVID unlimited QE, which was 3/23 2020, right? Which is that bar, which is and then it overshoots, as the markets always overshoot, right? So I don't want this to happen, but obviously that's one possible scenario. But I also don't think, at this point, maybe things change, but at this point, I don't see these companies in the same kind of position as they were in 2000, right?
No.
When we did get that kind of move. So at some point in time, fundamentals start to matter, right? Like,
I mean, crypto, if we're talking about crypto, I think crypto's in a 2099, 2000
More like
situation.
crapto, am I right?
there's a lot of people getting arrogant about how they called crypto to be worthless. That's the only thing that I've been seeing all over my Twitter feed. People are taking their victory laps on, like, look, I told you it wasn't a store of value. I told you the value is zero. And I'm like, I don't know what I know about, Nick. We've been doing this a long time, trading. Bags, I know you're more of an investor, less of a trader. But as a trader, Nick, the humility runs high, right? Like,
for sure.
Like, you don't come out and troll people when shit goes bad, right? Like, it's just not what you do, because
No.
you've been there and you get smoked. And some of the best traders, some of the best people are humble. They just they eat their pie, and they're happy to be along. They don't come back to say, I told you so. They don't come back to be
I
like,
ain't got
look.
time for that.
Well, I just think that's more of just, being an asshole or a good person, right? Like, and I'm not playing Mr. Morality here, but I fuck up all the time. I make mistakes, and I do my best to try to own up to them.
I just, like GP said, I think anybody that's been doing this long enough knows that there's no crystal ball. Like, we're all playing our own game of odds and probabilities here. And like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, if you're beating your chest right now because you're saying, yeah, I told you crypto's zero, actually Bitcoin's still 19,000 and some change.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's not zero, obviously, you fuck. It ran up to 68, 69,000. All right, what was the high? 69,000. So obviously it's not zero. Those are the same, and you see, y'all get me fired up now. It's the same people that said in this area, below $10,000, oh, it's not worth shit, right? And it did this. So, like, those people can just they can suck on some raw eggs. That's cool.
It's the same people who are at the high saying it's gonna break out, and now where you're sitting at like major support levels across like multiple years saying, I told you it was valued at zero. You both may be right eventually, but I guess my whole point is, like, shut up. Right?
Yes.
Like,
well,
I've
unfollowed and I've blocked those people because, I just find myself not being in a good space when I see people calling both ends of the trade. They call one thing 1 month, and then 4 months later they call something else, and then they come back to the original calls like, see, I told you. Well, no, you fucker, you didn't. You said one thing, you changed your mind, and now you're back to see, I told you. You're just telling me you got chopped the fuck up in the market is what you told me.
Yeah.
Not you, the royal you.
No, I do. We're all getting chopped, right? Like,
Yeah.
What, like, if we go back to the original conversation of XLE, right? There were, Nick, I'm not talking about you here. There were a lot of people calling about, oh, I told you there was a bull market somewhere, right? Like, and your bull market went to a bear market in 1.5 weeks. It's like, thanks for playing. I hear you, but
Game over.
yeah, like, that's what I think that, like, the XLE trade for me wasn't about, it was more about warning people who are talking about like, hey, this is going to just continue going up. And I'm like, no, bro, you're in your last 9 innings, right? Like, like, I hear you. At 81 I tried it because it was resistance. At 84 I tried it because it was resistance. At 91 I tried it and it worked out. I wasn't shorting at every level, but there's clear and present danger here that you need to not pump the hottest thing in the market at this point.
Every parabola must come to an end.
Yeah, it's like, it's cool. I hear you, bro. But for 10%, you lost 20% in a week. Right? Didn't we talk about that? It was 10% up or a lot more down.
Yep.
So that, like, that's the part that I struggle with, is like, don't just find the one area that's being bullish and stick to it and be like, well, if you just followed the trend, you'd be perfectly fine. I don't
Just
like
because there's a trend don't mean it's easy.
Yeah.
You know.
And Nick, we talked about how it kept grinding, right? Like, kept having these random sell bars and then grinding higher, random sell bars and grinding higher.
Yeah, there are definitely clues all over the place.
Yeah, and you don't know it until it happens, right? It could have gone to 100. It could have gone back to all-time highs at 102 and then happened. We didn't know when it was going to happen, but the question wasn't if it was going to happen; it was when.
When?
So when do we limit down?
We don't. I personally, I'm not trying to call a bottom, but I really like how it was baby with the bathwater last week, right? So what I want to see now is the names that have been grinding higher, like the XLUs, the XLPs, the XLEs, the XME. Look at metals, man. Metals took a massive, they broke their 10-year base in like a week and a half.
What do we think of gold? Or is it what metals are you talking about?
It is as good as an inflation hedge as Bitcoin.
I haven't even looked at the gold chart in I don't know how long. Actually,
how long are we gonna talk about the cup and handle? That's never gonna happen.
It's holding in there. It's holding in.
Gold.
Gold doesn't look good. I think we talked about the 4 or 5 month kind of mid Bollinger Band.
Silver doesn't look good either.
Yeah, it doesn't. It just doesn't look like it wants to go higher. It did initially, right after I think the Fed raised height.
If I scroll out, you know what I'm looking at.
The Batman. You know what looks great? Zoom. One of the few green weeks.
It did have a green week, didn't it? And after that market hell, it's green. What about that?
So, like, this is one of the ones that started this whole kind of mess, and it's been showing up with strength week after week for about a month and a half or so. So it's good to notice the ones that they're doing well. But if the market continues to act like shit, this will as well.
Yes, it will.
I'm not saying you should buy hand over fist, but you should notice that if the market does start to act much better, this will be the leader because it's been showing you the relative strength for a while now. And one of the encouraging signs is also FDX for the week, which is a
Really?
big economy
Wow, a big old bar, yeah.
which is a big economy indicator, right? Like forget like tech stocks or whatever, but like if FDX, and I know it was because of some dividend or whatever.
Transports don't look great though.
No. Dude, the only ETF to have a green week besides volatility was XBI, biotech.
Yeah, Dues
know,
was
I was-
pumping that. I saw that. Shout out Dues. We love you, Dues.
And it was on volume, accelerating volume.
Wow, it is.
So there's clues. There's people stepping in to buy things. And it's nowhere going to be like the SPAC debacle where people are just going to relentlessly buy everything and anything. But you're starting to see things that the biotech I can't remember the stat, but there was like a decent amount of companies trading below book value in the XBI.
Interesting.
So then you have, especially in the biotech space, you have conversations about mergers, right? Like,
Yeah.
so, and I think a merger did hit on XBI last week.
We're gonna be hearing about the return of Kathy here pretty soon.
Dude, Tesla doesn't look all that bad.
I mean, of all of the names, Tesla is down what, 50% off
Right.
its highs?
But didn't break the lows there. Every
Yeah.
opportunity in the world to break that low, didn't. Maybe it does this week, but I thought that was pretty impressive. Like on a week where we did not have anything but selling, it couldn't break lows.
When does Apple? Let me pull it up. Actually,
End of July.
end of July.
It's always
All right.
Murderers Row week. 36 days.
It's my birthday week. It's the most miserable fucking week.
Oh, you're a Cancer too? All right.
Yeah.
All right. My birthday's in July
Happy
too.
early birthday. I'm sure I'll forget, but happy early birthday.
All right.
When are you, Nick?
The 20th.
I'm 21st.
Right on. All right.
20th and the 21st. Then we got to have a birthday party jam pod.
Yeah, we do.
That sounds like we gotta have a night event with some drinking and stuff.
Let's see. When will that be? That's a Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah, I'll be in New Zealand though.
Well, you can get drunk whenever.
So it'll actually be like the 23rd because it's 2 days ahead.
Hopefully we're in our new place by that time. That would be ideal.
That would be awesome.
That would be ideal. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm ready for the action.
Yeah, well, it's been a couple of months, right? Like leading up to this
Yeah.
already.
Yep. This is our last week in Colorado. Don't want to get too sidetracked with Bags' personal life, but yeah, this is our last week in Colorado.
Then you're off to hot.
We're off to stay with the in-laws, and then we'll be headed to Georgia.
Yes, the hotness.
Yeah.
From snow to mugginess.
Yep.
I mean, you weren't a skier anyway, though. You said
No,
that.
I wasn't.
Man.
It's fine. I already hit up Nasty Nate. He and I are going to hit up a Braves game and probably knock a few back.
Right on.
Ask him to unblock me.
I will, GP. I will do that. And Nate, I know you're not watching or listening to this, but yeah, I'm fucking unblock GP. God damn. But I'll tell it.
It all started from Amazon, let me tell you.
You guys had beef because of Amazon?
Yeah, I was actually genuinely asking him about Amazon and he got his panties in a bunch.
Huh.
I actually DM'd him as saying, dude, what's going on? Because I didn't mean anything by it.
I
and
iron my
Fuck, he said-
panties so they're nice and smooth.
he might need the panties I'm wearing in my little meme avatar.
Anecdotally, I did text Nate, and he's expecting a big bounce. He's expecting I wouldn't say he's going to be out here proclaiming a V is going to happen, but he's expecting a big bounce too.
Yeah, and then
Shout out Nate.
Quarter flow ends kind of suggest that it's possible. I think a lot of people are expecting a big bounce, so that's the part that scares me. Because that's, I don't know, maybe it's the year of everyone, what they're expecting is going to happens.
Nick, GP already gave us Zoom. What's one name you want to watch? One name you like for the future?
Man, I don't know.
Can't call it.
I'm playing the sheep term right now, just day trading. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
look from a new IPO perspective. Here's another one that has caught my eye over the last couple of weeks.
Bros.
I gotta do Duolingo, DUOL.
Oh, Duolingo. Yeah, they're
that does look really good.
Yeah, that does look good, GP.
Like if you look on the daily as well, right? Like there's a lot of accumulation happening here. It's basing. It looks really good in a really crappy chart, right? Like it looks like it's setting up for the future. So this is one that I'm not saying it's going to happen next week, but this could be one of those.
$3.71 billion market cap.
How much?
3.71
billion. Do you know what the revenue is? I haven't done any of the research, so I got to spend some time.
Yeah, revenue 81.22 million as of March, 46%, almost 47% year over year.
And so they're doing about 400 million a year.
Yeah, close to that.
So they're valued at 10 times sales. That seems kind of high for this market.
I don't disagree with that.
So that's interesting that it's been holding up well. I'm assuming people are going to start traveling. I don't even know.
I'm looking at some other stuff here, but yeah, no, I mean, the chart looks good. Translation services, I wouldn't have, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't have had any expectation. So it's a bit of surprise that I was like, oh, Duolingo, right?
Yeah, it's just, and it's one of those not heavily followed names, right? So it kind of gets to operate in its own free marketplace.
Yeah, there's still, as of last quarter, 12 billion losing money.
Wow.
11.28 million EBITDA.
Okay. You know, it doesn't look good. Your baby Target.
No, Target does not look good. None of the retailers look good, honestly.
No.
You know, Walmart, Amazon, Target, you name it.
Costco doesn't look bad.
What does it?
Costco actually looks like it's better holding than the other ones. Better holding. I didn't say it looked good.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say it looks as bad as Target for sure. Target looks pretty bad.
Yeah. And then Walmart doesn't look great either.
No, Walmart has not. Walmart has been on the struggle bus. I forgot what happened in February of 2021 that caused this right here. I forgot what that news was, but Walmart was just on a trek, right? Like if you go back to here, like Walmart was just running.
It was earnings, no?
No, it wasn't earnings. They dropped some type of news. I forgot what it was. But I was a long holder. No, that wasn't it. It was some type of news. You'll make me Google it now. Anyway, I was a long-term holder in Walmart, and that happened, and I was like, all right, my thesis no longer is happening.
One of Duzio's names, Halo, is probably one of the better looking biotech names that I see out there. I know he pounds on that one quite a bit.
Well, it's held up, but it might look like distribution.
Yeah. SGen had a wild week last week.
Dude, everything seems like, it's another one that's on top of the world right now. Sanderson Farms.
What?
SAFM. Look at this beast.
Oh, damn, yeah.
Look at this on the weekly. You are looking at, look at this thing. No clue what it does. It just keeps coming up in my
Sanderson
screen.
Farms, a meat packer.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, as a vegetarian, that makes sense that I have no clue what they are.
Yeah.
But look at that weekly, man. That's just that you can't ask for, like,
No.
that's multiple months of consolidation and then breaking higher, right? Like,
Interesting that that's a high inflationary industry.
Yeah, the numbers are out of control. Like the at least on my MarketSmith, like the EPS numbers are like 400%, 560%, 200%, just quarter over quarter, the last 4 or 5 quarters.
wow.
Sales.
And the chart reflects it for sure. Jesus.
Yeah.
But this is not my type of trade because I wouldn't be able to hold this. I'd be nervous the whole way through.
Sure makes
That's
you think.
That's
I mean,
essentially a high and tight flag, man. And then it's breaking out, and it's not breaking out like parabolically. It's moving, right? Like it's grinding higher in a positive way.
Yeah. Damn.
So sell everything and buy Sanderson Farms.
Chicken.
No,
Yeah,
I think that's going to end up like your oil producers did eventually. I'm serious.
But this actually looks better than anything XLE.
Speaking of which, USO actually held up pretty well considering how the XLE was trading. I mean, USO was still, yeah, it had kind of a high volume day on Friday, but it held above its 50-day.
Is it still like trading par to oil though, or is it broken?
I'm not sure.
I think
OH got smoked hard too.
Did you see the home builders? Oh,
Got absolutely crushed.
Oh yeah, I was watching Toll Brothers and I was watching
Builder BLDR
crushed.
Oh.
11% down for the week.
Look at BLDR.
Yeah.
16%.
Oh, in a market where housing, I know, is slowing, but still doing pretty well. This is wow. I still think the move in utilities is bananas. Utilities never moves like this. XLU.
Yep. We just had that one up just a second ago.
Like, that's nuts. This is your safe space. This is where you go hide, collect your dividends, and call it a day.
Yeah.
When's the next Fed ordeal? The next Fed announcement? Any idea?
July?
And they're planning on raising again on that one? Is that?
Yeah. But did you see the note from
July 27th and 28th is the next meeting.
yeah. And then I think it's September after that.
So yeah, we should have your guys' birthday party because the following week the market will go to zero.
Oh boy.
But after the July meeting, there's not one until September.
Is that the last one of the year?
No.
They got November and December.
November, December. Okay.
So there's 3 more after the July meeting.
It's interesting.
GP, I was also researching the Walmart thing. It was, I couldn't find it, but it had something to do with some of the drugs. There was either a lawsuit or something, and then they got double whammied. I think the next week was earnings.
Okay. Because they missed something on earnings or some
Yeah,
expectation.
yeah. But they had
like,
some,
you know,
there was some type of drug lawsuit or something. I can't find it, but if memory serves me correctly, and about 85% sure it was something along those lines.
Interesting. The other one that caught my eye, I don't know if you guys follow this, is the HYG weekly.
High yield corporate bonds are in the trash.
That was major volume, and it put in a doji. So something to watch to see which way this breaks. Doji is essentially
Indecision.
indecision. So if this indecision to break lower means that it's going to break higher, it's something to watch because this should help push
All right.
equities.
So a technical question for you guys. How do you play off of a doji? What do you look for? Since a doji itself is usually indecision, how do you look for it to give you, or the following candles to give you some type of inclination?
So doji, where it occurs in the cycle, is usually what's important. Like if you get a doji on the first like 5% move down, that means nothing to me, right?
Yeah,
But
you want to see it
on-
after an extended move.
after an extended baby with the bathwater type move, to get a doji is something that gets my ears perked. And then you have to see confirmation to see if it actually pushes higher or it
Where,
was,
where would you look? That's what I guess that's what
So
I'm.
it's kind of like your risk bar. So like if you, let's say you saw a gap down and you just, let's say you had a bull, you were leaning bullish, you'd probably look to start buying through like the open of that doji bar, because if, as long as that holds, you're then talking about like almost an engulfing bar, just because the bodies of the candles are engulfing. But then if you want to be a little less, little bit more conservative, your entry would be through the wick high, and your stop is at the wick, below the wick low, essentially.
So you would,
If you're looking for a more hard, like if you're leaning bullish and thinking a hard reversal is coming,
you want to see it clear the wick high,
yeah,
or but basically the wicks, either the high or the low, you want to see get taken out one way or the other.
yeah. So like on a doji candle, I will then also go down to the daily, right? To take a look at what the daily resistance is there. So to me, what I'd be watching is that big gap down on HYG, right? That's where so like in this case, it was a doji, but we didn't get a chance to close above that gap down. So it's
Yeah.
possible that it could just be indecision down, right? Like
Yep.
that's just the continuation.
sure.
So this is what I'd be looking at. Like doji, you're looking at as a weekly candle time frame, but on a daily, how did it behave with all the gap downs and stuff like that? So in this case, this is a weak doji on like a potential bullish reversal, right? But if it clears back into that gap and starts to push higher, which is for the HYG, is that's what we're looking at. An example is the 74.30 area. And once it really clears that gap level, that 75.30, is when it starts to really become more of a reversal pattern, right? And I'm talking about like a close above that and a follow through, not just we touched it and then we reversed higher, right? Like it has to have, it's not going to be a 1 day pattern. It's going to be a multiple day pattern.
Would you want to see something like that? Some like checking off of that area, retesting?
Yeah, like for healthy.
Or would you want to, on the opposite end, would you want to see something like, where's my freaking path? There it is. Something like that. Right. And then that would probably fail, or maybe under.
Yeah, like, so if it fills that low, I think it gets smoked, right? And you, once again, it's the same thing, it's a confirmation candle, so it's gotta close below that low. And then you gotta see a confirmation to the downside. You can front run and say, yes, it's gonna happen, but you could also wake up the next day and it pops, so. If you get the confirmation, because this is more of a day trading kind of view, right? This
Yep.
is not like, so you wanna take the break and see if it follows through.
That's why I'm asking. I don't do a lot of day trades, and I'm sure there are a dozen people who are watching our video who might have that same question and want to
Yeah,
know.
and I'm not the right person for day trading because I'm not a big day trader. It's just what I'd be watching for kind of confirmation, right? So it's indecision. So does the indecision lead to more decisions or less decisions?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean reversal. So like it could very well
Right.
just move sideways.
Right. Yeah.
But the
But
chances,
if it's going to
like,
make a move higher or lower, that's kind of what you would want to see.
yeah. And because it's a gap down below the entire kind of range there, that 5-6 week range, and it stayed there but didn't break lower and doji. So this makes me a little bit more, it leans to the bullish side, right? But if you don't get the price action, it don't matter.
That's right. That's right.
Right. And I thought bonds had a decent week too.
TLT.
Yeah. It closed above the open, which is why it's green there, even though it's a red candle. Because it closed below the last week's close, but still above the open.
Yep.
So there's stuff got to be paying attention to, but this is not going to be like it all reversed in one day. Watch this shit fucking limit up on Tuesday, and then limit up on Wednesday and Thursday.
I would probably sell a lot of shit if that happened back to back days.
Yeah. That would probably be a smart
I would
move.
probably be a seller. I'm just going to be honest.
Depends on why it would limit up, right? If the limit up is because the Fed said we're going back to QE, probably not a good idea to sell, right?
Yeah.
Maybe short-term pain, but it's
I
going
don't.
back.
I don't think that's going to happen though. I don't think the
No,
Fed's going
no,
to say.
I don't think it's gonna happen either.
We're going back to money is free. I don't think that's happening.
But did you see the note that I posted earlier about Waller?
I have to admit, I did not.
Yeah, so it was talking about that kind of conversation. He said, even in a typical recession, there's a good chance the Fed would need to reduce policy rate to 0 and purchase bonds. He said that this morning.
Did you stock tweet that or tweet that?
I stock tweeted that.
Really?
This morning around 10 o'clock.
Really?
Yes. I said happy.
Oh,
Father's
you okay? You used a GIF in your Twitter link.
Yes, but it says it's time to change.
Fed dollars, even in a typical recession, there's a good chance that the Fed would need to. Interesting.
It's an interesting point in the journey, though, for sure, right? Like they are in a point where if they continue hiking into what, and so I was out this weekend for an engagement party and heard from quite a few people who are all working still, talking about how crappy the economy is. So it was really interesting to hear that, right? Like everyone's
yeah, I've heard that a few times too.
So it's not like I thought it was maybe just my constant like my social interaction on FinTwit and StockTwits and all that stuff. I was like, oh, maybe I'm just hearing that because it's what I see constantly. But just talking to this random person who's a designer for some design company. Was talking about how crappy the economy was, and I was
Did
like,
you tell
"Wait,
them the market is not the economy?
yeah, but I don't think she, like, it was a she, and I don't
Oh,
think she's
she.
in the market, right? Like, I think she's just doing her job and she's talking about it. So, and I heard that from a few people who are not like finance people. So I was like, that's very interesting to hear.
Huh. Interesting.
So yeah, it's the narratives are pretty interesting out there right now.
Guys, that's an hour. We
All right.
we did it. We did it. We touched it up. It was late. We came through like a champion once again. Nicholas, final thoughts?
Man, just I say stay nimble and try not to have any again, game of odds and probabilities. Try not to have a bias too hard one way or the other. Anything's possible.
GP, Zoom.
So I was looking out at the Amazon Prime deals that are coming up in a month, and I hear their petroleum jelly vat is gonna be
Yes,
on
the 5-gallon drum or 50-gallon drum.
I'll take
Yeah, I hear that's going on like a massive discount because of the impending doom that's about. No, it's more so like, guys, we're at a place where we can go in many directions for many reasons, and there's been a lot of pain and suffering. So I think my general viewpoint is, please shut up and let people enjoy their misery on their own. Don't rub it in.
Yeah.
Don't be a bunch of trolls. Don't be a bunch of
Don't be a bunch of
a-holes.
I told you so, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Be good functioning people
Yeah.
of society. We have a lot more things going on in the world besides just the stock markets. So
Show
be good
some
people, man.
humility. Show some humility.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Show some humility. Guys, with gratitude, I always tell you, I love you both. I appreciate you both. Thanks for spending another hour with me and us together. I think everything that we chat about on our weekly basis, some of it's usable, some of it's functionable, some of it's we've been wrong, but we're trying our best to give you what we've learned and what we know and everything that we've acquired. So I appreciate you both, and again, thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time. Shout out to all the dads again. Happy Father's Day one more time before we sign off. But we'll be back next week.
Thanks, Bags, for hosting. Thanks for keeping us honest, man. It's appreciated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.